Welcome back. Time to look at racing now, and Max Presnell's joined us in the Sydney studio. Max, a big day out there at Randwick yesterday. Firstly, the appearance of the Australian Olympic equestrian team, Glenn Boss's double, and the stewards kept pretty busy.
Yes, and don't forget the victory of the Melbourne 3-year-old Paint. Most impressive. There were extenuating circumstances, but we'll go into them later. A big day yesterday, but I would say, David, a bigger day at Warwick Farm today with the Warwick Stakes.
Yes, that should be a great meeting out there as Keith joins us, Keith Hillier in Melbourne, and no great indicators for the big cups ahead. Looking at the Liston Stakes yesterday, Keith.
No, nothing from the Liston. Maybe from New Zealand, though, David, where Viali, the horse that Dave O'Sullivan searched Europe for as a Melbourne Cup horse, was very impressive in winning over 1,400 metres there. But G Max is right about today. I think we're going to get some spring gold medalists out of the trifecta or the trio running in the Warwick Stakes today, Max.
Yes, well, it'll be interesting to see how the races run, Keith, because I do think tempo played a vital role in races yesterday. I was very disappointed at the tempo in the Liston. When you say no cup hopes come out of the Liston, well, how could they with a horse allowed to amble along in front when you got the tried and true stayers back in the pack? They just couldn't show up under those conditions.
Yeah, that might be true. If they did, I'm not erasing any of them, of course. It's just that the race didn't produce any cup hints for us the way it was run. Billy Idol, Shane Dye under the microscope in the stewards' room, Max, yesterday in Sydney, and that inquiry has not been finished.
No, perhaps it will be finished today when the stewards question Gay Waterhouse, but we've got a tape of that race, and it's a very interesting race. The tempo again played a vital role. Note Iron Horse well back in bluish colours, about second last on the turn.
700 out as they near the turn. The leader, Port Watch, a length Urimble Bow, a length Gaelic Thunder. Prince Regalia in fourth spot. Happy Old Bloke on the fence, had to ease slightly there. Followed by Honour Code, Azalo coming into it around the outside in the black jacket and the cerise cap. And then Obsessed and Waku Lash. Iron Horse giving them a fair start, followed by Code and Romantic Ace. Coming over the rise, Port Watch, the leader, is nicely clear of Gaelic Thunder, Urimble Bow, Prince Regalia. Azalo down the outside. Happy Old Bloke on the fence in the orange colours, not doing enough. Port Watch is well clear past the 200 from Prince Regalia and Azalo. Iron Horse winding up is coming late, and further out Romantic Ace, but Port Watch is going to defy them. He leads all the way to win. Port Watch got home over Iron Horse, Prince Regalia.
Well, Max, probably two stages of the race the stewards were interested in, the first 100 and probably the last 600.
Yes, more so the fact that Dye didn't take up a position on Iron Horse. However, he did have excuses. He did put his point, as he always does, very forcibly. But this is Iron Horse charging down the outside now, and the blue cap gave an impossible start. And don't forget Romantic Ace on the extreme outside. Another good run, but Romantic Ace always gets back that far. There just was no real reason on paper why Dye had to get back that far. But as he explained to stewards, he followed a horse, got checked, Wakolash, came back, and he was in a no-win situation from there on.
I believe he also told stewards, Max, that Gay Waterhouse was satisfied, in fact, happy with his ride. And is that the reason that for the adjournment? Gay left the track?
I didn't see Gay doing any tap dances after the ride. It's an interpretation of happiness. I wouldn't be surprised if Gay stands up for her jockey, but that's the reason for the adjournment. I don't think Dye's in any real trouble.
OK, well, the big performance yesterday at Randwick, the great 3-year-old Paint, many people thought wasn't fit enough to take it on in the up-and-coming stakes. He proved the critics wrong.
Really? They're off. And Paint's jumped only fairly, and Accomplice is a shade tardy, and Dance Music went straight back to the tail of the field. Pimpala Prince looked to be in a spot of bother early, and I think he might have stumbled just a few metres after the start. Paint, however, picked himself up and quickly raced through to go to the lead over Armadale. Paint wants to over-race in front. Sovereign Status pulling a bit in third spot, followed closely by Accomplice making ground quickly along the fence. Then Dance Music, Presidential Rule, into Gaze, followed by Magic of Sydney and Clang, and Pimpala Prince is last as they come to the 600 metres mark. Paint with the inside running is now being joined by Armadale. Sovereign State is obliged to race 3 deep. On the fence, Accomplice on the inside of Dance Music. 3 and 4 deep, Presidential Rule, followed by Intergaze, Magic of Sydney, Clang, and Pimpala Princess making ground near the fence as they come over the rise. Armadale and Paint are the 2 leaders. Sovereign State having a crack at them now, followed by Intergaze and Accomplice at the 200. Paint fighting back. He's a real little trooper. Paint again got the better of Armadale. Paint has kicked away with 150 to go over Armadale. Sovereign State, look at Magic of Sydney getting home when it's all over, but Paint leads all the way to win the up-and-coming stakes. Very close second between Sovereign State and Armadale.
Well, Keith, can Paint follow in the steps of our Maze K from last year?
Well, I think his owner-manager, David Moody, believes he can. And, gee, I think you've got to respect the comment again made by Shane Dye after the race. Shane chased Paint on Armadale. It's Paint on the fence in front, Armadale in the blue. And Shane said that Armadale had every chance, but Paint was in a different league.
Look at Pimpala Prince has nearly fallen there, Keith. Forgive me for interrupting, but there was just... Pimpala Prince was an outstanding run in that race, was charging up behind Accomplice, was going to go well past Accomplice, who finished fourth, was checked. This followed a tardy start where it was checked early again. Impala Prince was the run of the race, but Impala Prince is a hard-fit racehorse. The key to Paint is, I feel, his scope for improvement. He did have scope for improvement. I thought it was a soft win yesterday. They let him canter in front early, and under the circumstances, he had to win. But by gee, Impala Prince did not have to finish that far.
Well, Di took it to young Brett Stanley, but the youngster withstood the pressure over the final stages.
He took it to him in about 36 seconds. He took it nowhere. Yeah. He let him canter in front.
The only apprentice rider in the race. You're right, Max. I agree with you on all counts this morning because Paint had a virus. He'd missed track work. He's only going to get better. Pimpala Patch was the luckless runner. Probably should have been runner-up, but he is very exciting. I think he'll come to Melbourne now and win the Ascot Vale Stakes, probably the Vic Health Cup and the Caulfield Guineas.
Well, Keith, what happened to the likes of Count Shivers and Storm yesterday in the JJ listed?
The racing pattern favoured the front runners. We saw Del Sol lead all the way. Del Sol had been flattened in the Manikato Stakes a week earlier. Count Shivers dropped out to 10th and stayed there. I thought the disappointment was Celius. She was very well back. Arguably, she was our best filly from last season. She was there, close enough in the home straight, and just plugged away. This was Del Sol's race. It was never going to belong to any other racehorse.
Let's now look at the Liston Stakes yesterday from Sandown.
Storm is last of all, only 7 lengths covering the field as they run down with 900 a goer. And Kaltar on the inside, Del Sol together by a length and a half. Celius on the outside of You Remember. Station hand over on the rails, a length and a half to Toil, being followed by Count Shivers, half a length to Peep on the sly. Eureka Jill second last, and Storm is last of all as they commence the run around the home turn. Del Sol on the outside, Kaltar together. Celius in the box seat just behind them, followed by You Remember. Station hand on the rails. Count Shivers behind them looking for a run, then Toil as they straighten up. Del Sol has put his head in front of Kaltar at the top of the straighter. 400 to go. They've got away by 2 lengths to Celius. You Remember struggling. Further back, Station hand. Toil is down the outside. A long gap to Count Shivers. Del Sol takes the lead with 250 to run, is clear of Kaltar. Then Celius and Toil is running on pretty well, followed by You Remember. But Del Sol has dashed away with what appears to be a winning lead with 100 metres left to go. Toil finishing fast down the outside. Kaltar, but it's Del Sol. Del Sol will win the list and well from Toil second. And getting up along the inside, You Remember, I think's run third, followed by...
Yeah, Jim Marconi, the trainer, would be delighted with that performance yesterday of Del Sol at Sandown. Well, before we slip away, Max, have we got something in that black book?
Yes, we've got Magic of Sydney out of the up-and-coming. We've got Iron Horse, of course, and Pimpala Prince. I've left Paint out only because he's going to be very short odds. I want another look at him before I go overboard like Keith, but nevertheless, I do concede that Paint is very promising.
Well, Keith, today at Warwick Farm, the Warwick States, the likes of Nothing Like a Dame, Saintly and Falante, Marshall, Dye and Beedman. What a race it should be.
3 great horses, 3 great jockeys. Small field, jockeys' tactics are going to be so important. The race, I believe, will be won by equally as much by the jockey as the horse. Saintly's my tip. I mean, it's a Sabbath after all, isn't it? I think that Saintly can win and just make his first step to what's going to be a mighty spring for this horse.
Keith, thanks for joining us this morning. You too, Max. Look forward to your company next week on the show.
Yeah, bye, Dave.
He said it all.
We'll take a break. Back with more in just a moment.